Hello, 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 and welcome to Unique Leaders Live. I'm Megan DiMartino, and it is the most favorite day of the week. It is Friday. It's my favorite day, not because it's Friday in the weekend, but because it's Unique Leaders Live. And I love bringing my guests to you. Their stories not only resonate with me, but I know they resonate with you as well. It is an opportunity to glean this information to see yourself in these stories. Please share this out. Go to all your social media platforms and share, because this story of Lisa Patrick will absolutely really make a difference in your life and certainly other people that you know. Also go to YouTube. It is live there. You can always go back to it. There are many, many Unique Leaders Live segments and stories that I know will resonate with you. So Tuesday, this will also be on all the podcasting platforms. So you'll be able to work out, take your walks, do whatever, and listen to Lisa Patrick's story. So please share this out because it truly will make a difference and will give hope and infinite possibilities. As my book says, it's never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. So without further ado, I would love to have you meet my guest today on Unique Leaders Live, Lisa Patrick.
Hello, Megan. I was just trying to do my share on the back frantically.
You do whatever. We are open here. This is whatever, It is just about you, my friend, just totally about you. So, but as I said in the intro, this is also, actually, I left out that tomorrow we do a replay. And then it goes on to the podcast platforms on Tuesday. So ample time to share it out. So it'll be.
Well, let's try to get it while we're doing this live.
Okay.
That's even better. So just a minute here now. How come it's?
Well, actually, this is not live. It's recorded.
Okay, live recorded. Gotcha. That's why I can't find it.
Exactly. That's now it hit me when you said that. So this is a sneak peek, unless it's edited out, that this is we record, and Lisa, it used to be live. It was, and that's why it was called. But I didn't change Unique Leaders Live. I didn't take the word live out because it's live on Friday,
Exactly.
and so therefore, and it's up on YouTube, everything I said in the intro. But we found that it was so much easier. Friday afternoons is tough for people. And so it just became a very difficult thing. So we started maybe 6-8 months ago recording it, and it made it such an easier thing for everyone. So folks, that's a sneak peek if we don't take that out. So but that is what's the great thing. Johnny Carson used to say that all the time, right? This is live TV, whenever something happens. So with that said, do share a little bit about you, Lisa, the little girl, Lisa, where you started your journey and what led you to today.
Sure. So I grew up the daughter to two amazing parents. My father is a retired Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and my mom was a nurse. And in the 70s, he decided to buy a farm. I'm the only child. I'm a farmer's daughter. So I truly learned the art of entrepreneurship and hard work at a very young age. Although my parents say that I wasn't worked very hard, I remember many a times, having to get up early or coming home relatively late in the evening on a Saturday night, having to get up in the morning to go pick rock or do whatever. So I have very humble beginnings, born a Canadian and from small town in Saskatchewan.
Mhm.
And I moved after I graduated from high school. I moved to Alberta to take my law enforcement training because I had aspirations to become a Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and ended up at the city of uh, of Edmonton Police Department for about 6 months. Worked in sex crimes and went, this is not where I want to be. So I went back to school, and while I was in school, I started working for a private investigation firm, and I decided that I didn't like how they did things, and that I could do it better, and started my own private investigation firm. And that was really my first start of entrepreneurship outside of the farm,
Mhm.
obviously.
Mhm.
And I never looked back. I've never worked for anybody. Like I said, I worked for somebody for about 6 months and have never been back as an employee since. So it's been an interesting journey and a ride along the way.
And where do you live currently?
I live in Edmonton, Alberta.
You still
Yeah,
live there? Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
still.
Okay. And that's
Not
mountain
forever,
time.
though.
Well, that we'll go into that.
Yeah.
But it's cold in
It is
Canada.
cold right now.
Cold.
Yes. That's why I don't know that I want to live here in the winter months. But,
Yeah.
anyways,
Yes. Yeah. So private investigation. Wow, that is such an interesting thing. And I did, of course, know this, but
yeah.
listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, A, you're a woman, and B, how I wouldn't say necessarily risky, but how about danger? How about danger in your life, and
Yeah,
how
I
does
never
that
really
play into
Yeah, I never really thought about that at all, quite honestly. I don't know.
Mhm,
But definitely. So when I took my law enforcement training, that was in the 90s, and I was one of three women.
mhm,
So it was definitely a majority of men, but I've always really truly been in a more male dominated working environment than I have with female
mhm,
dominated. So I don't know if that's just my nature or if that just is where I've gravitated to. But um, yeah, danger was never really something I ever really thought about, quite honestly.
mhm,
You're trained to really be observant beyond the obvious that's around you, to know your surroundings. And I really think that that type of training has really given me a gift of uniqueness in the business world,
yeah,
because I don't just look at things, right? I look through things and I look
mhm,
beyond the obvious. I
mhm,
believe that the magic is in the mess, and more importantly, it's usually on the outside of what we're looking at. But we're so busy in our businesses, right, Megan? If
mhm,
we're a leader, we're so busy leading, and we're so caught up in the day to day that it is sometimes very difficult to see the outside. It's kind of like when friends divorce, right? And then afterwards, they have this magnificent amount of clarity about their spouse or their relationship. But we have seen it all along, right? But we're on the outside looking in, not on the
yeah.
inside looking out.
Yeah. So interesting. Yes. And so true, because as you referred, I ran a business for almost 20 years with sometimes 15 to 18, 20 employees.
Yeah.
And you were so involved in that inside, but you step outside. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Very, very interesting point. Speaking
Yeah.
of that, do you have employees in your business?
So most of my are subcontractors, actually. So I have no employees, and I actually don't like the employee model just in the
Hmm.
business I'm in.
Hmm.
But I like the subcontracting model. So I have 7 subcontractors that work for me now.
Oh, that's again very wise to do that. And having sold my brick and mortar last year, thinking through all of that, that
Yeah.
model is so much more
Yeah.
advantageous in building wealth for yourself.
Well, it's just different. It's just different, right? I'm
Yes.
fortunate in that way, but in the work that we do with Belongify and the companies that we work with, they have 200, 500,000, 15,000 employees. So
Hmm.
employees and having that workforce, it just
Yes.
all depends on what service you're in, or what product or business
Hmm.
you're in, which
Hmm.
vertical, right?
Now, Canada. I live in Texas,
Yeah.
outside of Austin, and I am from New York. So I'm a New York girl, deep in the heart of Texas here, but for a long time. So it's an interesting dichotomy, though, because I live here and I look at what's going on there, and I have a daughter who
Yeah.
now lives in Toronto. So a couple questions about this. So, with that, how is this whole last 18 months to 2 years affecting your business with these large corporations?
Yeah, so interestingly, so I have I'm invested in several different businesses. And so the one business that I'll refer to your question, Megan, is Belongify. And when we started that business, I started it with a gentleman by the name of Lauren Rubis. And Lauren Rubis is a culture disruptor, culture amplifier. He's been in corporate America for 40 some years, and
Mm-hmm.
really crafted his niche around culture and creating greater conditions for people to belong and
Mm-hmm.
thrive. He teaches at Harvard now. And when we started talking about Belongify, it was pre-pandemic. And so there was a whisper in corporate about having remote working, having hybrid teams. What does that look like? How do you support that? How do you support that and create connection
Mm-hmm.
amongst the teams when you are remote or you're hybrid? And we launched the company and COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, we are in a completely remote environment. And not only how do we navigate the fact that we have to be remote, and it doesn't matter, both sides of the border, right, Megan? Same
Sure.
things happening. COVID knows no boundaries, right?
Amen.
Knows no borders.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you navigate that? Not only for productivity purposes, but also how do you create connection? How do you really create a culture of sustainability, adaptability, and more importantly, connection? And
Mm-hmm.
how do you do that virtually when so many people were in corporate who were, it was the water cooler conversations, it was the collisions that occur, in the hallways and at the front door and when you leave, and
Yes.
and so Belongify really, stepped up to really make or to I guess accept the challenge, and that's been an exciting adventure, truly.
So what you're saying is that they, as a company, you and your colleague, are not only adapting, but are really adopter. I mean, you're adopting and bringing other people along with other dynamics of that.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? The DEI equation is, it's not broken, but it's not complete. We need
Mm-hmm.
belonging, right? We're women. Megan, you and I are both women,
Yes.
clearly. I mean, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think we need to tell people that. So
Right.
we want to be invited to the table. We want to be included, but we want to be invited and included and asked to contribute
Mm-hmm.
because we have value at that table,
Yes.
not because we're diverse and it's an inclusive table, but because we belong there.
Yes. Yes,
And
Lisa. Mm-hmm.
everybody wants to belong.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the best leaders, the most unique leaders, recognize that in order for people to belong and thrive,
Mm-hmm.
they have to show up and be real and be vulnerable and have
Mm-hmm.
some emotional intelligence. I mean, look at the company Better, who just laid off 900 employees. Did you hear about that?
I
Over
did.
Zoom.
I did.
Now, that is not a company where people feel like they belong.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I was thinking about that. If you did it, not even a deep dive, but a surface dive into that company, there were problems in River City there already. You could,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But yes, how cold and heartless to do that. It's a different time
Yeah, and
that
I'm
we're
sure,
living
the media doesn't give us all the particulars of the story, right? So I always like to say, there's always, it's like a divorce. There's always two sides to the story, and
in.
and
Absolutely.
the truth is somewhere in between, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
they're a good example of, I wrote a white paper here probably about 6 months ago about personal brands within organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And here is a perfect example about how a company could have asked people to leave in a
Mm-hmm.
unique way,
Yes.
especially from the leadership, that still was done with dignity, done with respect. And rather than having 900 people on social media being absolutely, not kind, you could have 900 advocates
Yes.
talking about the Better brand
Yes.
and a unique and diverse and inclusive way of asking somebody to leave, because lots of companies don't do that well.
Yeah. There's so many thoughts and ideas from what you just said, but let's go. let's go back a teeny bit to when you got into when you started your first company after
Mhm.
saying, I'm not, this is not for me to
Yeah.
be an employee. Let's go back to there for a minute, because what my brain is going to, and I'm always thinking about our viewers, our
Mhm.
listeners, I'm always thinking about
Absolutely.
that. And I'm, like you
Without
said,
them, we wouldn't have a show.
exactly. But for our listeners, we are women. And so viewers, they can see that. Uh, with that said, when I started my first business, it was in 1992,
Mhm.
and I was in my early 40s. And though prior to that, I worked for a national company from the beauty industry and worked in national sales. And all of the uh, rep companies, which covered the United States, were men.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
spent all my time with men. I traveled, from Monday through Friday, and I was with guys,
Mhm.
and so when I started my own business, of course, I went back into that genre because back in the 90s, there was no social media, there was no
Yeah.
Google, and so no podcast. I
Well,
mean,
there was internet, but it was a dial-up process.
well, I didn't, trust me, I didn't know about that, but from no websites, meaning that it
Yeah.
just what we know today from a marketing position didn't exist. So of course I went back into that because it was either retail or wholesale.
Mhm.
So I bring that history up only because I'm a little older than you, or a lot older than you. But the point is that we're both women and we're both entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and we didn't want to. We wanted to create. That was my passion,
Mhm.
to create, and then take it to market and help others in their ascertaining their dreams, goals, and desires. So you as well. And so the line of career you were in, you said you were with women, excuse me, 100% with men, but have you seen that change? And if you haven't, why do you think not? And where do you see, like today, because there's no boundaries, as you said, where do you see it going in your industry?
So, it's kind of a if I understand correctly, you're asking me, is my life now, my business life now surrounded by majority men or majority women? Is that what you're
Well,
asking?
yes, basically, like the evolution of that, meaning when you
Yeah.
started, it was all men. Are there more women in the
Oh, I
line
have
of work?
way more women in my life now than I
Mhm,
ever did early in my career.
mhm,
100%. There's no
mhm,
question about it. But there's a lot of women in entrepreneurship, right? There's a lot
yes,
of I'm no longer in this male dominated industry.
mhm,
I'm in a industry that everyone and anyone gets to play ball. It's whether you
mhm,
want to show up or not, right?
mhm, mhm,
And so I think now, I have a lot of, I have shows. I do a podcast, and I have,
mhm,
just as many women as I do men
mhm,
show up. However, I will say, uh, for the most part, though, I seem to still gravitate towards more male dominated industries or male dominated relationships. and
mhm,
and I don't know if that's for any particular reason other than that just happens to be the way that it is. But
mhm,
um you know I just there's I love everything about people, and I
mhm,
love everything about business.
mhm,
And my world revolves around those two things. And, I don't believe in a work life balance. I believe in work life integration. And I believe it's our responsibility, yours and mine, to determine what does that chemistry equation look like,
mhm,
as far as how much is integrated back and forth, and what works for me might not work for you. And I
mhm,
think that's the same with all our relationships, regardless of the sex or
mhm,
orientation of the
mhm.
relationship.
Yeah, and that is why I'd like very clearly, and I talk about that with my Propel business and life activation, because there has to be that integration, or as our friend Sharon Lecter says, you've
Mhm.
just created a job for yourself,
Yeah,
and so there has to be that cognition of how you're balancing that. Do me a favor.
absolutely.
Do me a favor though, because if I'm thinking this in my mind about this question, I know that others are. So I understand what a private detective does, but how do you integrate that into business?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's really about becoming more aware. So I wrote the book actually. I thought I had it here, but maybe I don't. Intelligent Curiosity with Jim Cathcart. And that really was the reason that that book came about. Well, there's a number of reasons, but the reason that Jim and I wrote it together was because he said to me, Lisa, you can bring a really unique perspective to
Mm-hmm.
the art of curiosity, to the art of finding more, because I look at things slightly differently. I ask questions that other people typically wouldn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
I over communicate my listening skills. And I look beyond the obvious, right? So I think most people, you open the fridge door and you look for the ketchup, you see what's in front, but you don't look what's behind,
Right.
right? And men are very good at that, by the way.
That is
But
so good.
again, it's really becoming more aware of your surroundings, and it's not just what's in front of you. Like I said, it's what's at the edges. It's looking in the mess, because
Mhm,
in the mess is where the magic is. But most
mhm.
people are afraid to look in the mess.
Wow. Wow. So this book was recently published,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
Yes.
it was. Yeah, you can
And
find it on Amazon.
Amazon. Okay. And
Yeah,
that'll be in the show notes and people can find that. And because I think that is such a, oh my gosh, the essence of that, not just the ketchup bottle analogy, but just looking at things, not just from the black and white in front of your nose, but around, I say,
yeah,
in the box, out of the box, around the box,
yeah.
and taking the time to do that. So,
Right.
from your professional experience, with thousands of company or many companies and thousands of people and working with these, how many people would you say percentage wise, just because of how they were brought up and how they uh, run their lives, look at life that way, around the box, out of the box?
Oh boy. Well, we wrote the book for a reason. Because most people think about curiosity, right? We think about curious about asking questions and, the
Mm-hmm.
normal mainstream of curiosity. But intelligent curiosity isn't curiosity at the regular of how we look at it. It's about being intentional. It's about
Mm-hmm.
being strategic. It's about being focused, right? On not just what, like I said, what's in front of you, but what's around you. And,
Right.
and the rules of engagement look differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we really want to, it's a skill that can be learned
Mm-hmm.
clearly.
Mm-hmm.
But we really want to be intentional about why do we do what we do and how do we do it and what is the end result. But more importantly, it's just not the end result, it's that and then what? Answering. So now we've found this, but and then what? And
Yes.
then what? And it's about pushing yourself past those boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not limiting beliefs, but limiting ability to see more. And when you open your idea, you open your mind to that opportunity, to the possibility of
Mm-hmm.
what else,
Yes.
that changes absolutely everything.
Mm-hmm. And that word intention is such a key word because it's about really looking at something from so many different
Yep.
eyes. I mean, it's your mind's eye, but you're looking at
Yep.
it. How is it affecting everything? I
Well,
call it my chessboard.
yeah, exactly. It's just like a game of chess. Who's the pawn? Who's the rook? Who's the queen? Who's the king? Right.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, I think too, it's really about making sure that you are not living in comparison to something else as well. Right.
Very good point, Lisa.
Like, I think that's really important as well.
Mhm. Don't you think that this season, though, I mean, in every negative, there comes a positive? And that, again, Sharon Lecter, that's one of her favorite quotes. I'm not quoting it exactly, but out of every negative comes, many positives, from Napoleon Hill.
I
What would,
think what's important about that though too is a huge fan of Sharon, is a lot of people aren't willing to find the positive, right?
Mhm,
And we default, typically our mind tends to default to the negative, right? Like, oh,
mhm,
why didn't that person call me? Well, rather than saying, thinking about, well, why didn't they call me? They didn't call me because maybe they're just plain busy. maybe they're
Exactly.
cooking, maybe they're right. But we tend to, our mind starts to play to the negative, like, well, they
Hmm.
don't like us. Well,
Hmm.
they're avoiding us, right? So we have to retrain how we think so that we're not looking at the negative. We're trying to find the positive, the silver lining. Now, it may not be the reality in some particular cases,
Hmm.
but life would be a lot easier if we lived from that lens.
Yes, because what you're saying is most people are I-centric versus
Mm,
global-centric or we-centric. And
yep,
they're, like you said, why didn't they call? Well, like you said, they're busy, had
exactly.
nothing to do with you. So it is. So do you look at this, and like you shared earlier about your partner and your company that you're working with, what is the name of the company again?
That particular company's Belongify.
Belongify.
Yeah.
Belongify. And so you reference this, but not just Belongify, but do you see with what is going on in the world, um, is there, I mean, and I'm not God and do not purport to ever be so, but ever, but do you see an awakening from this mess?
I do.
An
You know what?
awakening.
I do. I believe, I really believe, and you'd see it more than I would, Megan, only because of our geographical location. We're still not completely,
Yes.
open
Yes.
here because of COVID. But I went to an event here not too long ago. It was last week. My girlfriend's daughter actually won an award. She plays university level for rugby. And I sat there for, good 10, 15 minutes, and I looked around the room, and the hum, like I shut my eyes and I just listened. The hum of the energy in the room was beyond imaginable,
Hmm.
because it was the first time really many of us had
Hmm.
been in a room together collectively,
Hmm.
having conversations, real conversations with each other, right? Yes, we've got the masks and what have you. That's whatever, here nor there. But
Right.
people are hugging and they're talking. And
Hmm.
when I talked to my daughter's, or to my girlfriend's daughter, she said that was the most people they'd ever had to that awards banquet,
Really.
because
Hmm.
people are craving
Hmm.
connection.
Yes.
We
Yes.
are human beings that need to thrive and survive on human touch. And
Yes.
as much as this virtually, but imagine, Megan, on the day that we get to meet, the
Hmm.
hug and the embrace that we will have,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
There's
Yes.
no words. There's no, this is great, and it
Hmm.
serves a purpose, but
Hmm.
a,
No.
it is not to the value of human touch.
I went into a store which is called Hobby Lobby here, and I'm sure it's not in Canada,
I've
but
never heard of it.
no, but it's really well done. The guy that owns it is it's a chain here in the Southwest, but it has home decor things and
Right.
at a good value. And so they have really good Christmas stuff or holiday
Yep.
stuff every year,
Yep.
all throughout the year. Anyway, I went in though because I have a fabulous fabric area with great thread, and I needed some weird colored thread. So I went in there just for thread, and I walked in and there was nothing on the shelves. This was
Yeah.
Saturday, the 3rd or 4th or whatever day that was of December. I walked in, I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God. And when I checked out with my thread, I said to the young lady, I said, this is amazingly crazy. She goes, it's been nuts. I said, do you think that people think that this is possibly going to be the last Christmas? Or like you said, they haven't been together and so they are just celebrating.
Hmm. Yeah.
Amazing.
I like to believe, I want to say that the glass is half full, not half
Yes,
empty. I
I
don't think
couldn't.
it's our last
No,
Christmas.
no, no. I'm
It's
I'm
definitely
kidding.
not going to be the Christmas that it was last year.
Mhm.
But again, I think that people are just trying to find ways to connect with each other in any way, whether that's shopping, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And people are thinking differently about their habits as
Yes, I
well.
agree. I agree.
Um, you know,
Mhm.
are we, I'm more intentional here about the shopping that I do and making sure that I'm supporting small business
Yes.
locally as
Yes.
opposed to big box. And I
Hmm.
think that's probably the scenario, or I'd like to believe that that's the scenario that happened with that particular store.
Absolutely. And health, wellness. There's so many things
Yeah.
that we're rethinking. So
Yeah.
let's talk as before we close. And my final question, you referenced earlier that you're questioning, I don't know if that's the correct word, but where you might evolve to.
Mhm.
So do share a little bit about that. And have you done
Yeah.
a book tour yet? Probably not. So
No.
that's
No.
now. Mm,
No, and I don't know that there'll be a book tour
mhm,
we'll see what happens. I do plan
mhm.
to come stateside in January, so hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to, and I'm coming Austin way. It seems like everybody I talk to these days lives in Austin. I don't know what's going on. So,
It's a good
but
place.
pre-COVID, I was just starting to really do a lot more public speaking
Mhm.
and attending events from a speaking perspective. And so I'd like to get back to doing that again, but I'm not your typical keynote speaker. I don't like the keynotes. Actually, I love let's sit down, side by side on a chair and let's have a conversation. Let's invite the audience to have, belong with us. I hate to
Right.
use that word, but it seems
Mhm.
appropriate.
Mhm.
And have those types of conversations. I'm not that keynote speaker. I don't even enjoy keynotes, quite honestly. Somebody standing from the stage and blow horning, and you just don't have that ability to. Not saying that they're bad, and nothing against people who keynote,
Sure, sure.
just not my cup of tea. So I do really want to start to do much more of that, both
Mhm.
here in Canada and in the US.
Great, great. So do you feel that you might move to the States or to a warmer climate, or
Yeah.
you're
Oh, for
thinking about
sure.
that?
At some
Mhm,
point, I have twin daughters, and they're 16 right
mhm.
now. They're in grade
I
11.
see.
So
So
I've
not.
got one more year before they're grade 12. So definitely won't be moving anywhere before then.
Mhm,
Would never give up my Canadian citizenship either.
mhm,
So, but
mhm.
being across the border 6 months of the year, that sounds right about now when I look outside the window and it's so cold. Sounds like a really good idea. Maybe
Yeah.
Austin's the place to go.
You know what I do like, as I shared, I'm from originally from New York, and I will not ever go back to the snow and the ice. I just won't.
Yeah.
Will not. But there is a change of, like yesterday was a typical Texas day for us listening and watching around the world. It was about 75 degrees in the morning. Remember, this is December. And then you could feel a cold front because it was very humid.
Yep.
Then it rained torrentially, stopped raining, sun came out, and it was like 50 degrees.
Sounds like Vancouver, Alberta.
Like it's like that, but that's Texas. It's like, okay, what are we going to be today? So, but it's very diverse and it's beautiful. There's some beauty to the hill country and the like. So
Mhm.
it's a very unique area. So I have enjoyed. I've lived here for about 18 years now, from Fort
Wow.
Worth, where when I first moved from New York to Texas in
So what
1987.
Megan, what brought you to Texas? Like,
A job, a job.
okay.
A job. But there was ulterior motive in taking that job when I was recruited. My early career was in the fashion industry, and I went
Yeah,
into the wholesale beauty industry in the early 80s and worked for a
right.
national company, as I said earlier. And so, but I never forgotten this dream, Lisa, that I said someday I'm going to create. I didn't really know specifically. I thought it was going to be fashion, but I knew as time went on that was not going to be. So when I went into the beauty world, I said down the road, and I'm right smack dab in the baby boomer generation. So I said, I'm going to do a skincare line. Well, again,
Yeah,
there was no Mr. Google to call,
yeah,
or so forth. And so,
exactly.
I
And
mean,
the
so I took
Encyclopedia
that job.
Britannica was pretty limited on how to create a skincare line.
Exactly. So when Alcon Laboratories knocked on my door to, basically interview for this position of national sales and marketing director, they had bought a small lab of hair care products like a Rogaine or Nioxin
Yeah,
for hair scalp problems, but they wanted to expand it and repackage, reposition it. And so they recruited. So the ulterior motive was that I wanted to be able to hang out with sophisticated chemists to learn about how to
yeah,
put ingredients. how to put a
Yep.
product together. So it was a great experience. And I moved to Texas, as I said, with one of my daughters. She was 11, so she had no choice. And so she came with me. My older girl was in senior of high school, so she finished in New York and then went to college in Colorado. And yeah, that's what brought me here. And I'm
Wow.
still here because there's a lot of positive, not just Austin, but the state itself
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
very good, solid state, run very
Yeah.
well.
I've been to Houston, I've been to Dallas, but I've just never been to Austin. So that's the next stop.
Good. Well, now you know I'm here. So that's
Absolutely.
well, as we there's so much more. I'd love to delve into your book. I absolutely am going to purchase that because curiosity.
I'll
Um,
send it to you. You just have to give me your address.
okay, because that is one of the reasons I do this Unique Leaders, because I want people to know others, because
Yeah.
people that fascinate me, I want them to know, and I want people to know that it's in that asking a question. Get out of your own way, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
Just really own that what your heart is and what you're sharing, and explore.
Hmm.
So I ask everyone this question as we close.
Okay.
And again, it's from Sharon. I'm mentioning she a lot today, but it's from 3 Feet from Gold. And I'm sure
Hmm.
you've read 3 Feet from Gold. And for our folks that haven't, it's a great book. It's a tremendous message of not giving up. And it's about a
Yeah.
guy that had gold fever, came out west, bought a piece of property in the beginning of it, and then it was another autobiographical about Greg Reed's life. But he bought some property, chiseled away, was seeking his gold, and gave up. Sold it to the
Mhm.
town person, and that person in 3 feet struck gold. Well, Sharon, through this book, has created her success formula, which she uses in many things.
Yeah.
And it is passion plus talent times association times action plus faith equals success. Now, I'm not going to ask you all that, but what is Lisa Patrick's passion and what is your talent?
My passion is people. It really, really is. I love to help others move forward in their greatness.
Mhm.
And it's not about standing in my greatness, it's about being in their greatness. And I think we all, when we get clarity, regardless of what it happens to be, if there's a roadblock, a stumble, whatever it may happen to be, we're even more great. We have so much potential that's untapped. And so I wake up every single morning. Truly, I know that's a cliche, but I do wake up every single morning excited about what type of greatness is going to evolve today. And that's what lights my fire, both, personally and professionally.
Hmm. Hmm. And like you said earlier, that work-life balance, it's
Hmm.
that excitement for the day to
Yep.
create. Yes. And what is your talent?
Well, it depends who you ask.
Okay.
I have a real unique ability to truly see what others can't. Even when you're a visionary or you're an integrator, I can see here and then. Sorry, I can see here and then I can see here, but I can see beyond. But
Hmm.
seeing is one thing, but understanding how to integrate the systems and the processes to actually
Mhm.
get you to that next level, that's my unique ability.
Mm. That's your superpower, and that's what has created your career. I see it
Yeah.
there. Yes. I mean, I
Yeah.
thought so, but that is
Yeah.
it right there. Yeah, to integrate all of that. Yes, I can see
Right.
that. Yes. I think that all creatives who are entrepreneurs, because a lot of entrepreneurs are not creative, um,
Yes.
but creative entrepreneurs, that is, I think, their superpower, that they can see and then integrate it and help others.
Well, I read a really great book by Gino Wickman. I don't know if you've ever read it. It's called Rocket Fuel. Have you ever read it?
Oh,
It was one of
I have not, but I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, and he wrote, I mean, he's wrote Traction, like the
Mhm.
EOS and what have you. But Rocket Fuel was profound for me because it really, really defined that I am unique in many ways. And I'm not like, I'm just being very transparent. I
Mhm.
always thought I was a visionary.
Mhm.
And then when I read the book, I recognized that I wasn't just visionary. I had the ability to be an integrator as well.
Mhm.
And I can run from both of those gamuts. And that's unique because
Mhm.
either most people are either they're visionary. So they're the
Mhm.
CEO of the company, they're the vision driver, or they're the integrator, the chief operation officer,
Yes.
whatever. But not often can you be both or play roles in both. And so I think that gives me opportunity and insights that help me provide clarity for others.
Yes, yes. Do you, and I'm going off on what you're just saying, is I'm thinking of others. Was Steve Jobs would you say, a true visionary where
Oh,
he could integrate
100%.
the two, right? Yeah,
100%
yeah.
true visionary. Yeah,
And he
absolutely.
could integrate as well.
No, he always left the integration. He truly stayed in his lane.
Okay.
And I can't remember the gentleman's name who was his
Yeah,
COO, his right hand off the
right.
top of my head. But that's why it was such a yin and a yang, right? And there
Mhm.
are a few, you really need to understand the
Mhm.
role and trust the other person. You need to trust your
Oh,
coup
yes. Oh,
to
yes.
really do their job and to do it well and with the right intention. And the
Mhm.
coup really needs to understand what the
Mhm.
visionary is trying to accomplish and
Yes.
make it happen for them.
Let's do a I was listening to someone today on Clubhouse, Kim Walsh Phillips, talking about summits. And she was talking
Yeah.
about how summits are great because you then can repurpose the material.
Yeah.
But just in that point right there, what you're talking about, I'm going to order that book. I'm going to read yours and Rocket Fuel.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's and the great thing that Gino does, and I recommend this book a lot to most people because some people think they're actually the visionary and they're not. And
mhm,
some people think they're the integrator and they're really not the integrator, right?
mhm. Yes.
But what he does really, really well, Megan, is he actually gives you exercises to go through so that
Mhm.
you, at the end of the book, you know emphatically whether you are the visionary or you're the integrator or where you are in between.
Wow. Okay. Excellent. Well, so when are you coming to Austin? What did you
I'm
say?
hoping the end of January,
At the end
but
of January.
we'll stay in touch.
I thought you said January, but I
Yeah.
want to make sure. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lisa, for
Well,
joining
thank
us today.
you.
And I know that our listeners, viewers are going to you've given not only nuggets of information, but concrete, your book, and then the rocket fuel. I mean, true, really true, not just your story, which
No,
Unique Leaders is,
that's boring.
but also yes, very tangible. Huh? What'd you say?
I said that's boring. No,
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't want to talk about myself.
Well, no,
I
yourself
think
is
that's why
pretty.
I don't like keynotes because ever this like I am truly an introvert. I can be an extrovert when I need to be, but I think that's why I don't like to do keynotes because all the attention's on me. I don't want it to be on me. I want it to be on the audience. I
Well,
want it to be on who's beside me, right?
yeah, because you said it best a minute ago when your talent, meaning helping others. I mean, you've said it throughout this conversation, meaning that it's about helping others, not only start, but continue on, find their passion and
Yeah.
purpose. So oh, yes. I mean, someone asked me who was my avatar, and I said, Kermit the Frog. And the person was like, Kermit the Frog. And I said, yeah, I mean, he's
I
an
love that.
I said, he's a introverted loudmouth. so, and so, like you
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
I'm a reserved loudmouth. So I'm not the one that's going to barge in and take over the whole show. But I have the ability to be a loudmouth. So Kermit the Frog,
It
yes.
has been like my life has been enriched by knowing you, Megan. Thank you for
Oh,
this
thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. Well, have a wonderful holiday. Thank you, love. And
You
I'll see
too.
you soon. Be blessed.
Bye. See you
Bye
in
bye.
January.
Okie doke. Thank you, love. So thank you. I was just about to say, move on. And, it's so funny. That's what I love about live is that those moments in time. And my brain no, I'm going to be transparent here. My brain is with Lisa. I was thinking about writing down rocket fuel, honestly. But thank you so much for joining us today on Unique Leaders Live. And you on the podcast, what I was doing is getting off my stool, and my producer said, girl, you're not finished yet. So that was what that pause was. But I was truly wanting to write down rocket fuel. And with that, I thank you for joining Lisa and I today. I know that her story, her unique story of not only being a child of a mounted police, goodness, but just taking that and going onto the police force and then starting her own business in private investigation, but didn't stop there, and using her integrative talents, and I use that word because she's used it throughout, of just helping others and businesses that she's worked hand in glove with and helping their employee staff to be the best they can be. So do share this out on all the your social media platforms. Go to YouTube, subscribe. Please subscribe because that helps the algorithm, but more importantly, it helps others find Unique Leaders Live, where we have interviewed so many amazing people and their stories as well. And then coming Tuesday, the interview will be on all the podcasting platforms. So share this out, go to YouTube, go to iTunes, subscribe, the other podcasting platforms. And then my book that I've referenced a few times, Hope and Possibilities Just Over the Horizon, is on Amazon, but it is also my gift to you on my megandimartino.com, where you would just put your information in and receive the ebook at no charge. There's also an audiobook there as well. You can follow me on Instagram, put in Hope, and you'll receive the book. Again, the same difference, an ebook, and the will take you over also if you want to purchase the audiobook as well. So that is there, but the subheading of the book is It's Never Too Early or Too Late to Create the Life of Your Dreams. And that truly is correct, folks. No matter where you are today, wherever endeavors you are, we spoke today about a company just letting go 900 people the other day on Zoom, no less. But those people don't understand today, but they will understand soon, that there is hope and infinite possibilities just over the horizon. But you have to start and then build it and sustain it. But it's about going within and understanding what your dreams, goals, aspirations are. I have a masterclass coming up on the 28th. And so you would go to propel.business /masterclass, and then just sign up for that masterclass. And it is basically about my course that's coming, which is called Propel, Business and Life Activation. Lisa and I spoke about integrating your work life together because it needs to be integrated, because one does not work without the other. So that's why these people are going to see down the road, hopefully soon, that this is just the opportunity to begin again and utilize all the skills that they have learned and built over these many years. So I hope that you are resonating with this hope and possibilities. Do join me on Clubhouse on Tuesday at 5 Central for my club, which is called Hope and Possibility, but the room is HeartLink. My heart is linked with yours, helping you to see that it is never too early or too late to create the life of your dreams. And that will propel you to, but you have to identify. And that's one of my 5 C's. I'm not going to go into this masterclass here, but join me on December 28th at 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern for the masterclass. And we're going to go into clarity because that's going to help you build 2022. Have a wonderful weekend. And I will see you next Friday for another wonderful Unique Leaders Live segment. And be blessed.